One of my teammates called me speaking gibberish. And that's the one reason that made me file the lawsuit. I kept telling myself every day, I got to help this guy. Something's not right. And I said, every day it was on my heart to do it. And then eventually I got the word that he went to his family's factory and he hung himself. The guilt got me. I wouldn't talk to anybody because I felt responsible because mental health is my thing. It's like, how could I miss these signs? But eventually I figured out that I couldn't help him because I needed help. I was literally living on my own floor, my own apartment in Los Angeles. I had taken the mattress out of my bedroom and put it in the living room because it put me right next to the front door, the kitchen, and the restroom. And so I was dealing with it too, but
Hey, folks, welcome to another edition of Broken Brains with you, your host, Bruce Parkman, the official podcast of the Mac Parkman Foundation, where we look at the issue of repetitive brain trauma, from repetitive head impacts in contact sports to repetitive blast exposure in our military vets, and what these conditions are doing to the brains and mental well-being of our veterans, athletes, and children. Why is this important? Because this is unknown. It's not trained into our doctors, our nurses, our psychologists. So when people struggle, there's really no help out there for them except for us to be aware. And so this podcast is about sharing that knowledge, sharing that awareness so that you can make the informed decisions you need to protect those that you know and those that you love, because we are the front line of defense for this issue. On the podcast today, another amazing guest, Mr. William Person. Will H., as he's known, is a former 9-year Team USA Olympic bobsled athlete from 1999 to 2007. He's an actor and a leading advocate for brain injury and CTE awareness. After his competitive career, Mr. Person faced severe neurological symptoms, including depression and cognitive decline, which led him to explore and ultimately champion hyperbaric oxygen treatment, or HBOT, as a path to recovery. Today, he is on a mission to expand access to care. He founded his 501c3 nonprofit aimed at opening a post-concussion recovery center to serve athletes, veterans, and others suffering from traumatic brain injuries, or TBI. Mr. Person, thank you for coming on the show, boss. It's good to have you here.
thank you, man. I appreciate you guys having me.
All
Yeah,
right. Love it, man.
yeah, you guys are a population I've been, man, how do I put this the right way? I felt like I did you guys a disservice. Well, let me back up. Let me back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Man, let me give you a little bit about my background. Before I made Team USA, I was working in mental health. I worked at the most strangest place. It was the first mental health facility that was built that was west of the Mississippi Rivers. Everybody who needed help flocked there for help. And so here I am, just leaving college. I'm 23. And so I'm watching all the extreme behaviors from just depression up to the criminally insane and everybody in between. Matter of fact, we even had some of the guys who had lobotomies walking around back then. This was like 1993. And when I was about 28, I opened I created the first ever independent living transitional housing program. So I had a 9-bed, kind of a, it was a community-based program for, kids with conduct disorder, mental health issues. And I was trying to institutionalize them and have them in proper home settings. And so mental health has been my background for a long time prior to Team USA. So I was open for 3 years at the time I joined Team USA, but eventually I decided to go full time with Team USA, and I closed my doors and I said, I'll reopen when I retire. And I wound up being there for 9 years. So when it got time to retire, I started remembering I had back then I had a pager, a cell phone, an office phone, and a home phone. Yeah. And they were always ringing. And I was like, I can't go back to that right now. And so I didn't. So I wound up managing some of the biggest child placement conduct disorder units. So mental health is my background. So the very fact that I was suffering from the same symptoms and watching my teammates pass and die, and I didn't catch it myself, I'm just kicking myself. I am kicking myself. It took me so long to figure it out. And people had to die. It's literally what it took. People had to die before I
But
can figure it.
no, and Mr. Person, we don't know what we don't know, right? I've got a dead son.
Yeah.
And I allowed him to play all these contact sports. You know how to talk to me. You don't know what you don't know. But I mean,
Yeah.
the fact, your dedication right now, you have served some of the most needful populations out there, at-risk youth right now.
Yeah,
is huge when it comes down to mental illness and this issue of repetitive ed impacts because in certain disadvantaged communities, like I live in Florida here, very poor area around here, white, Hispanic, African American families. Well, dude, get your kid. I mean, we have the police activity league here teaching boxing to 8-year-olds. Right. And tackle football and at 6, right? And we've got the local PAL to move over to, flag football. But
nice.
beyond that, it's like, when you started out all those years ago and you were, looking at, all this critical population of mentally struggling people. Were you ever aware that some of them could have been hurting because of their military service or their sports activities back then?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's the disturbing part. And sometimes we gave them the bad information. Like, for example, I had a lot of like when I had my own company, I had to have a therapist. I also had a psychiatrist who, prescribed meds and stuff. And so whenever we had kids in these facilities or adults, and they'll say, like, these meds don't make me feel well. I gave them the answer that they told me to tell them, which we repeated. It's on loop. Well, it takes a little while to build up in your system, so just give it some time. And so when I started going through my stuff and these NFL lawyers came aboard and they told me about these doctors, and I followed the path that those guys were following. So I allowed them to prescribe me a Zoloft. Man, it made me like I was already like I had a deal. I made a deal with God. I said, God, listen, I know the trauma that suicide leads for the family. I'm a counselor. I know that. I can't take my life, but you can come get me anytime. Please make it today. And that was my talk with God every single day, praying for death, But this stuff, like when I tried the Zoloft, they gave me I had a very small prescription. Matter of fact, I know a young lady who's half my size who's taking the milligrams. So very small. And so for me, I almost wanted once I started taking those pills and I was feeling bad, like I told myself the same thing. Just give myself time, it's gonna work, it's gonna build up, just give it some time. And then eventually every window I looked at began to look like a swimming pool to me. I wanted to just jump through it. And eventually I just cold turkey that stuff and just no more. And then I went back to, okay, guys, you can come get me when you want to. But I really wanted to go back on that deal that I made with God because I was miserable. There was no way I was going to survive this thing with those pills in my system. And I
Then
believe
we
that
talked
is the
to
biggest problem. Yeah,
I absolutely agree, sir. I mean, and the thing is, it don't work. I mean, when we're talking about, and we're going to dive into your athletic career here, but when we're talking about what's probably caused your mental illness, like it caused mine, was damage to my brain from
yes,
contact sports, rugby, and blast exposure, all that stuff. Well,
absolutely.
these medications don't do anything for our damaged brain, man. They just medicate it. They conceal it. And from what I understood, like when I was struggling, they gave me I can't even remember what the hell, it was some kind of pill. I took it. I'm trying to remember the name, Vipucerol or something like that.
Hmm,
Vipucerol, something. And I was driving my wife down the highway, and I wasn't in the car, man. I was just like,
yeah.
"Wow," I'm like, "This is dangerous as hell," and I didn't feel good, and I was like, I can't do this," and I had to figure out another way. But, to your point, these kids come to you, they trust us, and we give them these medications that they really don't do a lot for them.
Well, you just said a mouthful. That's you said mental health about 5 times in that last sentence. It's not a mental health issue. This is a physical injury. That's the
It
problem.
is. Yes,
They're
sir.
giving they're giving us meds for a chemical imbalance. Like, for example, if you had schizophrenia or bipolar, that's what those meds are for. They're not for people who brains are balanced. So if they're to balance a brain, if ours is already balanced, it's going to unbalance it, and that's exactly what it does. Yeah,
So talk to me, how did you get into bobsledding, man? I mean, you went from mental health practitioner, right? Taking care of,
yeah,
children. And I can't thank you enough. My daughter's a CASA lawyer, that rehomes children. She, from
nice.
abusive homes. So
Yeah,
thank you so much for your dedication, man. This is amazing. But so is this a family sport or something? How'd you get into bobsledding?
I got tricked, man, just like everybody else. Like we get tricked into that sport. Like,
You got tricked?
yeah, I was a track and field athlete, and I was doing these weird movies like Jerry Maguire. I went and worked on Any Given Sunday, but that movie got violent, so I walked off the set. So I didn't do that one. But track and field was my background. I was a 4.23 40 guy, so I was a real fast guy. And they were having tryouts in Salt Lake City. It was hosted by NBC. And so these people called me to go for this tryout. And I didn't want to do it because I was like, I don't want to do that sport. But they said, well, NBC's covering it, and it was my last year of track and field or so. And I said, well, maybe I'll pick a sponsor up here or there if I go to this thing. So I went and I watched all these guys. They had this treadmill. What they do is they take it and they put it on the highest elevation. So it's here. And they have some bobsled handles attached to it. And it's hooked up to this computer and they punch in 10 miles an hour. And the quicker you run on it to get it to 10 miles an hour, they time that. So I'm watching these guys go through this tryout and I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know what they're doing. And so when I did it, they just kind of shut down production. This driver comes over to me, puts his arm around me, and I know I did really good or really bad. I don't know which one at that point, but I know he was excited. And this guy offers me $50,000 to race on his team for 3 months. And I was a businessman at that time, and I gave him a business answer. It's like, well, if it's a fair price, yeah, I'll take it. If not, we can renegotiate later. And
Right.
but the truth was, this guy didn't have any. He didn't have any funds at all. And by the time I figured it out, I was already kind of into the sport a little bit. I was 2 weeks in, and the first week I was up there, I pushed the sled for the first time. That trial was on a Wednesday. I pushed the sled for the first time on that Sunday. Another team saw me out there, picked me up on that Wednesday, and I won my first medal international race on that next Friday. So it was quick. NBC ran
Wow.
that story. Yeah, it was a show called Go for the Gold or something. I've never seen it. I just heard that people said they saw me on there. And yeah, and this was something different, and it's like my track and field body weight was 178. I'm like 4% body fat. It's hard to measure me unless you dip me in this water thing because you couldn't pinch me with calipers. But for bobsled, I can eat all day, lift weights all day, and it was a whole different sport, and the discipline was different. And and it just was. I could have fun out there, and it wasn't so as stressful as track and field. Put it that way.
Bet.
Yeah,
I bet.
yeah. I'm
So it was
always
just a
looking at
four
calories.
man. Oh yeah, dude. If you don't
Yeah,
have to look at calories at my age, I look at calories, I wear them. So what
yeah.
was this, the 4 man or the 2 man or both?
Well, I did both. I'm a 4-man national champion, and my best finish at the nationals is silver with 2-man. Top 10 ranked in the 4-man with Stephen Holcomb. He actually took his life at the Olympic Training Center, which is very sad. But it was my driver. I pushed him in his first World Championships. But he's won every medal for America since 2003. That was him. But yeah, he ended his life in 2018, I believe.
Yeah, let's talk about that because here's a sport that we have never looked at. I've never even considered this a subconcussive sport yet, right? Now we know that rodeo, BMX, all these,
Yeah,
snowboarding, all the twirling they do, and ice
yeah.
skating, gymnastics. Now, this issue of subconcussive trauma or banging your head around your brain is in a lot of sports that we never think about. Where is in this sport here? Where is that? Where? How does the brain get shook? Talk to us about what goes on inside the head from the moment you start pushing that sled to when you jump on it till you cross that finish line down the bottom of that.
Well, there's two things that's really getting us. And one way I figured it out was we took some fighter pilots on a bobsled ride, and we thought it was pretty funny because they pull the same type of G forces as us. They're the only ones on the planet who know what G forces really feel like. So, I took them on a bobsled ride, and they did. Let me see. I did 7 bobsled rides that day. They did one, and they were rattled, and that didn't make sense to me. And I was like, "We're only pulling 4 Gs. Like, how could you guys be rattled?" But so that sat with me over the years. An article came out by the New York Times, and I saw it. And these fighter pilots, they was listing their symptoms. They were dying, and they were sick. It was all everything they had was what we have. And I was like, "Oh my God,
Mhm.
I know what this is." And I was really trying to really help them. So I sent that stuff to my attorneys. I filed a class action for them to warn the new generation and to get medical coverage for everybody else. And they really just fought me on that. So
Really?
yeah, we're still in court right now. So yeah, man, they tried to bribe me. They tried to bully me. They've done everything they can. I won't take the offer because it's $2.1 million. and then all that money will only go for the doctors to look at us and say something's wrong, but they won't tell us what it is and they won't treat us. And I said, we're not lab rats. I'm not signing off on that. I represent over 700 athletes right now who are dealing with this stuff. But
All in
I
the
think,
bobsled community?
yeah, the bobsled,
Sorry.
it's the G forces for us. It's getting us. The G forces is
So it's
number
7
one.
so all right. Okay, and so let's
Yeah,
talk about the G-force here for a second because in contact sports, G-force usually is usually, measured when you have an impact, that is that amount of
yeah,
G's. You're talking about when you're in these turns, you're
yeah.
exposed to G-force from the time you leave till the time you stop more or less, no?
Yeah, we're pulling it's registered between about 4 to 6 Gs is what they average is the average on most tracks. However, there's spikes. There's a article came out by the New York Times called Sledhead, and they measured it, and there were spikes of 84.5 Gs on those athletes on those testing barometers, whatever they did it. Yeah, and that's the problem for us. It's the G forces, but we also get those colliding. We know we're hitting our heads on the side of on the side of the helmets, side of the sleds. We're crashing. The crashing is very violent. It's no different than you rolling your car. It's very violent, and especially if you catch it at the wrong time in the wrong pressure points. It's awful the crashing. But also
Yeah,
there's a really bad vibration on that track too. So it's equivalent to shaking baby syndrome. Somebody took a baby and just, well, this is
you
what
can
we
see
feel the
the
whole
helmets
time.
on TV. Yeah, when you
Yeah,
watch it on, a couple times I watched it on the Olympics, you can see the helmets shaking.
yeah,
I mean, there's no give. It's ice and steel going down
yeah.
that track.
Yeah, and so that track is supposed to be smooth like ice, but it's not always extremely smooth. You find those ripples wherever the ripples are, you're gonna get the. As a matter of fact, if you don't close your jaw, your teeth are gonna chatter. Well, it's really that violent. So we're getting it from three different angles. We're getting the 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 hard concussions. We're getting the vibrations from the shaking, and we're getting that G force exposure. So, like one of my teammates called me speaking gibberish. And that's the one reason that made me file the lawsuit. Like, he was in stage 4. He couldn't talk anymore. He was speaking some weird language. And actually, the truth is, when he called me, I kept telling myself every day, I got to help this guy. Something's not right. And I said, every day it was on my heart to do it. And then eventually I got the word that he went to his family's factory and he hung himself. And the guilt got me. And I hid from all my teammates. I wouldn't talk to anybody because I felt responsible because mental health is my thing. It's like, how could I miss these signs? But eventually I figured out that I couldn't help him because I needed help. I was literally living on my own floor in my own apartment in Los Angeles. I had taken the mattress out of my bedroom and put it in the living room because it put me right next to the front door, the kitchen, and the restroom. And so I was dealing with it too. But like I said, I thought I was coming down with diabetes. Doctors kept telling me I was wrong. I was like, listen, I know what low blood sugar looks like. I know diabetic people, and that's what it felt like. Here I am. I'm consuming coffee and high dosages. I'm Coca-Cola, things that I've never drank before. I was an athlete. I didn't drink that stuff, and so here I am now living off of it. And my doctors were right. I did have diabetes, but once my teammate took his life, and when they checked his brain, then I knew what was wrong with me and the rest of my teammates. It's just so many of us. It's all the same stuff. It's like uh, somebody somebody from Mike Tyson's family found me online the other day, and no, I'm sorry, they called me, text me. And it was like, "Do you think some of the things Mike is dealing with is related to this?" I was like, "Absolutely. How could
Do
it
you
not?"
think?
Yes, I'm said it's yes,
I
yeah, it's all the
mean,
same
look at
stuff. Yeah,
yeah, Muhammad Ali and Parkinson's, man. This is
yeah,
all about brain trauma, and
yeah,
we see it, but we
yeah,
don't want to make that correlation. Now, Muhammad Ali, he had a disease that wasn't from boxing. We don't want to know that that's from boxing,
yeah,
and so it sounds like other contact sports that the issue of mental health and brain trauma is pretty high in the bobsled community. You can't get
yeah,
away from it. It's not like if you're a kicker on a football team, you don't
yeah.
get tackled, right? I mean, you're not gonna
Right.
get CTE, but on a bobsled team, everybody gets
Everybody,
exposed to this, right?
everybody. If you get in that sled, you're gonna get it. And right, and now we used to make fun of these people sometime. Like that, we have a new athlete come out. They've never been down a track before, It might be a race, so they might have tested well, so they'll fly them out for the first time going down the track is gonna be doing the race week. So they'll come out, they'll get in that sled, go down, get to the bottom, get out the sled, go straight back to the airport. Like, they don't even sometimes go back and get their luggage. They just wanna go home, and that's how yeah, we call it the
Had enough.
goldfish syndrome. Yeah, we call it the goldfish syndrome. They forgot to feed the goldfish, they had to go back home to feed the goldfish. But I really wish I had been one of those guys who just would have
uh,
done the same thing because then I wouldn't be sitting here today with this horrible message,
wow.
it's yeah.
Bobsled. Who would have thought? And so how long were you a bobsledder before you started noticing, a decline in, your mood or your cognitive functioning? Did it
Well, that's the thing with this thing, you don't really get to see your own symptoms. Like, you can see in everybody else, like, "That guy's acting weird," but in my own self, I didn't. But now that I'm looking back, I remember some things, like, one time I hadn't been home in a while, so I always kept a place in Salt Lake City, and I went back to, shoot pool with some friends, and one of my buddy was like, "Hey, man, is your ex-girlfriend coming in?" And I looked at her, I was like, "That's a pretty girl, but I don't know her." And she runs over to me, she sprints and jumps in my arms, it's like a Hollywood movie, and I catch her, and I'm just thinking, "Okay, that's weird." But I wasn't recognizing familiar faces for a long time, and I was only in probably the middle of my career, I still had maybe 4 more years left when that was
wow.
happening, and so and then a lot of times I would wake up in the middle of the night, and I wouldn't know where I was at, and I would panic, like, I turn the lights on real quick, and I look around, and I see if I can see the walls, I'll know where I'm at, 'cause in Europe, they got those creepy pictures where the eyes follow you. I know I'm over there somewhere. Yeah, the creepier the pictures, the further Eastern European I am, If it's cinder blocks, I know I'm at the Olympic Training Center. So but yeah, I was having but the thing was like, no, the things were happening, and I didn't it's easier to rationalize this stuff, and that's why there's so many misdiagnoses with it, because this stuff is just cognitive stuff. It looks like so many other things. There's a lot of gut health issues that come with it, and people have no idea. They just think, "Oh, yeah, I'm just getting older, or I'm just aging, or it's just this." And the doctors are wrong. I have a formula and it's so accurate. And once I figured it out, I went online and did some more research. And the internet actually says it takes 20 years for this thing to show up. And in my philosophy, what I've seen is 10 years. At the 10-year period, you're going to see the red flags already. They're going to be there. And you might not recognize what they really are, but they're going to be there. It's going to be something that's really bothering you. You can't quite figure out what it is. And then you have another 4 to 6 years. And I hate to throw this blanket statement out there, but look at our veterans, look at our NFL players, and I'm sure you're gonna agree with me. But after that next 4 to 6 years, you're gonna become either suicidal or homicidal. And that's what CTE really is. And my job has really been this is see, most people, when I started, I knew about the NFL guys and I knew about us bobsledders. I didn't know about the military guys. And then when I found you guys by accident, I followed the symptoms because I was a mental health guy. I'm following symptoms, trying to figure this out. Found it in the military. I'm like, oh my God. And I found the research behind it. I said, oh my God, it's over there too. So domestic violence. It's in
Uh,
our domestic violence people. And then I don't know if you saw my posts, but did you see the public apology Kanye West put out?
I heard
He,
about it, but I didn't see it.
okay.
I don't really follow a lot of trendy things.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
No sorry needed. I don't blame you. But I went to watch his documentary with my girlfriend. I didn't want to see it because that guy was always acting out. I don't want to encourage any of that. But my girlfriend wanted to see the documentary, so I went and I watched his symptoms. And matter of fact, one of the first things he was talking about being diagnosed bipolar, he said, "What year?" And so I did the math. I was like, "Wait, he was 40. Nobody gets bipolar diagnosis at 40. You get it at 20, maybe 25." It was a
Yeah,
red
good enough.
flag.
Yep.
Yeah, he was talking, and I kept watching him go up and down. It's like, man, he's acting like concussion people, but he was no athlete. Then I remember the song he had called "Spit Through the Wire," and he said he didn't say concussion, but he said he broke his jaw. It was in the back of his mouth. I was like, oh my God, I know what this is now. Matter of fact, I screamed in the theater. I went bingo, and people was turning, looking at me like, what's wrong with this guy? But yeah, think about this. He was a billionaire. He was given the same treatment as the rest of us. They told him, "Don't go home and don't go to sleep." But he might have stayed in the hospital, he had surgery. But they always tell the same thing, "Don't go to sleep." And they don't remove the inflammation that's on the brain, they just allow it to stay, and it festers. And when you get that proper hit, I've watched so many cases now, and this is directly tied to our mass shooting problem. Every mass shooter, look at their background, it's 3 categories.
You are touching a nerve on this one, big man. I'll tell
I
you,
know.
hey, you can't unsee this, and I'm not saying that every mass shooter has done, but every time, like from the New York, when the guy walked into the NFL building, there was a young
Mhm.
man that shot up a bank a couple years ago, and he had a massive amount of concussive exposure.
Yeah,
We are not looking at that at all, and I think that every time there is a shooting incident, we need to dial into that shooter's background. We've already had a couple Green Berets that, and that have done horrible things, that have, spotted, whose brains are obviously damaged in their career.
yeah,
And I'm not saying anybody's getting a pass on this at all, but
yeah.
we have to look at what might be causing their impulsivity that's leading. So where are you seeing that when you start talking about, mass shooters? Any particular event that, that grabs your attention when we're talking about this?
All of them. I study all of them because let me
Yeah.
tell you what, the statistics tell you that, 31% is the veterans, but it's a little bit higher than that. And, also, if it's not them, it's somebody with a concussion issue, either football
Mhm.
player or had a bad car accident like Kanye West, it's people like that who had that hard enough hit to start that clock ticking. And then the last it's either the veterans, people with concussion issues, which it's the same thing, though, they're both concussion issues. The third group is radicalized people and mental health people, but their symptoms are so similar that there's a connection here somewhere. I don't know what that one is yet, but it's the same
Yeah.
3 categories every single time. Matter of fact, there was
Well,
one just recently. I'm sorry, go ahead, I didn't cut you.
no, you keep going, man. This is good stuff.
There was a young man who he shot 8 children or 7 children this last weekend. Veteran,
Yeah.
There was one this guy went to a
Was he a
hockey game.
veteran? I
Yeah,
didn't realize he was a veteran. I was trying to figure out if he was a veteran or had he played contact sports. I haven't
yeah.
seen too much information on that one.
He was a
That was
veteran. I went
horrific.
straight for that background because that I'm looking at him now because now I know what this is. But there was one recently with this guy. He went to a hockey game, right? He he sniped from a sniper's point of view. He shot his son. I think he killed 2 of his sons, his ex-wife, and his father-in-law, and one other person, I believe. But he was transgender, right? And it was like, okay, this is some transgender shootings going on out here. But I'm saying, no, we have to search his background. And I'm searching, and I can't find much on this guy. And then it hit me. Wait a minute. He was at a hockey game. So his kids played hockey, 2 of them. So more than likely, he played hockey too. And hockey players are some of the biggest people
They
with
have their
CTE right
problems.
now. Yeah, they got it's really bad with those guys. Like, yeah, and it's the same thing over and over. It's just I think I'm the first person that I know of that's looking in all the categories, and I'm trying to show everybody, listen, I'm guilty too because I started with bobsledders. I was trying to help my group. No, all these groups are connected. We have to help them all, and
When it comes to, yeah. Yeah, no,
we
it's so
have to.
talk. No, we have to. I mean, there's no doubt
Yeah,
about it. I mean, and we're just touching the tip of the iceberg when it comes down to all the, people that are suffering from mental health as a result of either with our veterans, it's mostly blast exposure. We don't see the concussive impacts of most of them other than like groups like our Navy SEAL, our small boat operators where those boats hit all the time.
yep,
They are. And then we have no idea how many Army guys played football before they even joined the Army or the Navy, right?
yes,
And how bringing that trauma with them.
yes,
But to your point, our veteran population is still not properly assessed for the impact of this on their brains, and then of course when they are struggling with mental illness, they're given the same cocktails you were given, right? Medication, maybe some therapy, and I hate to say it, with a tongue in cheek, but a dog or a cat or a pony, and
yeah,
that's all fine, but it does not help when we start talking about fixing the brain. So how did you
yeah.
find your way out? All right, here you are, you're living on your mattress, right? You're struggling. you've had a couple friends pass away, you're just starting to dial this in. How did you get back to the William person that I'm talking to?
Well, to be honest, I'm not all the way back, but I'm not complaining anymore. But Joe Namath saved my life, man. I'll be very honest. A lot of
Joe
fact,
Namath?
yeah, he see what happened. My teammate, actually, I bought this lake house. This is how bad this stuff is. My girlfriend, well, my fiance now. Actually, we just got engaged a couple months ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I never thought I would be able to say that or do that, but yeah, I'm doing it. So yeah, I had a place in LA, and here I am. I'm lost in my own community. I'm laying on my floor. I'm struggling. I met a young lady. We started kind of casually dating a little bit, but I knew something was wrong. So I found a place back in the Midwest. I bought a little lake house back there, right? It was my death house. I was going to die. I knew I was in trouble, and I didn't know what it was. So while I'm over there, this article, well, actually, I came back and forth so I came to see my girlfriend, and then I went back. And while I was here with her, it was during COVID, and I just told her, I was like, "Listen, you're making so much noise in the house, I can't take it anymore." I said, "I'm going back to the lake house. I need some peace and quiet, and I'm not gonna tell you to be quiet in your own house. I'm not that person. Like, that's just," I said, "It's not fair to you." So I went back to the lake house, and a lot of things happened all at once. One thing that happened is an article showed up called Sledhead, and it talked about my teammates with, well, I think it's three teammates with Parkinson's. There's some seizures, strokes, things like that. There was a couple of suicides. They didn't even talk about all the suicide. They talked about some of them. And so I'm reading this article, and I get on my knees and I thank God that all the symptoms miss me. That's not where I just got diabetes really bad. They just can't detect it yet. That's
You're
what I'm
still thinking
thinking.
you
Yeah,
have
I'm still,
diabetes.
yeah, yeah. So I take that article, I send it to my girlfriend. She circled some stuff and she sent it back. And the first thing I noticed was noise sensitivity. Matter of fact, that's why my glasses were slightly shaded here because the lights, I just can't. Migraines will start showing up. And yeah, and I went, oh my God. And then at that same time, that's when about the time my buddy Pablo, who took his life, his autopsy reports came out. He was in stage 4. So I started
See,
calling yeah, CTE, stage 4 CTE. Yeah, that's why he was speaking that gibberish. And, yeah, it was just like, and that's why I started making phone calls to my teammates and hadn't talked to in a long time. And they all said the same thing as me, like, "Oh, no, symptoms didn't get me." But since we hadn't spoken in a long time, we on the phone maybe an hour, and now they're all telling me these weird, bizarre stories. And I'm just thinking like, "Oh my God, not them too." And I tell them the same thing. I said, "Take that article, share it with your loved ones, and then if you feel the need to call me back, call me back." One by one, my phone rang. And then that's when I started trying to find lawyers so we got to help these youth. We got to stop this sport or get them to do something to fix it. At least let the warning generation so they know what they're getting into. They should have a choice. Because I found out these guys knew what was happening, and they didn't want lawsuits, so they did something to try to cover themselves. This was back in around 2002, right when the Winter Olympics were in Salt Lake City. I was around during that time. There was no talk to us. They couldn't find helmets that were safe but aerodynamic, is what I was told. And I'm just thinking, okay, nobody's child should go through this, and I'm gonna make sure that people know. At least they should know. So right now, I filed a lawsuit in 2021. I just spoke to a athlete who was racing up until the last 2 years. He knows nothing about the lawsuit because they're doing a really good job of trying to keep it quiet, and that's just what this thing is.
do they have children bobsled teams? Like the kids play this thing, or is it just something, the
They
adults?
can. I was,
Yeah.
one of the young kids that I first teamed up with, he was around 12 or 13 when he started, and he
I
had
mean, I
another
guess you
buddy.
got to
Yeah.
kind of hard to have a bobsled, you know, thing in your backyard nowadays. You'd have to be in a certain spot, but it's just, I mean, you bring up some good points about,
Yeah.
but have you taken any treatments to improve yourself? I mean, you
Yeah.
said you're on your way back, and what have you done that's been the most effective in helping you recover as best you can?
You see that thing back here? Hyperbaric oxygen.
Is that a HBOT tank back there?
Yeah, that's the only thing.
Nice,
Like,
yeah.
I was in that chamber for 1 hour, and it took 10 years. I was cloudy 10 years at that time. it wiped it right off me. By the next
Really?
morning, I wasn't cloudy anymore, and, I went back the second time, it took 9 days of clarity, and I was like, "Oh my god, it wasn't a fluke, this thing works." So then,
Mm.
I had to get one. So, yeah, I've been treating with one ever since, but this is the only way back. There's one more way of doing it, and I found that one by accident. The British matter of fact, the Canadian soldiers, the UK soldiers have all the same problems as the American soldiers with the same stuff. But what some of them do is they go to the Bahamas. There's an island down there, a little reef. They go down there and go deep sea diving. So every time I get in this machine, it's called a dive.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
simulating what they're doing naturally. So if you go down in the
Sure.
ocean for a couple hours a day, it'll do the same treatment. But
Right.
this is the only way back. It's the only way to remove that inflammation and to kind of get things kick started up there again. Yeah, and that's it really there's not
You haven't
I've
looked at any of the brain supplementation programs out there, Dr. Gordon and Dr. Mark Lewis. They've got some there's some other paths that we can talk about
yeah.
that go well with hyperbaric. But it's just I'm just, thankful to the Lord that you found, you found something that's gonna help you. And nobody's got an HBOT tank in their backyard. And they're,
Yeah.
you gotta go find this, So,
Well, I'm
talk
working on
about the
something. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm working on
yeah,
that right now so that like I have I have the facility already. I have you really need 30 days of treatment back to back, 2 sessions a day.
you do.
Yeah, so I have four houses in the suburb, well, three in the suburbs, and then my lake house. I'm donating into the program as well. And then I have the clinic. This clinic is big enough where I have 3 addresses on it. So I'm almost ready to open. I'm a 501c3. Trust me, people try to discourage me, like, no, you have to charge, but this is something that we have to offer to the people for free. And people ask me, what do you got to do for free? Well, if you self treat, it's going to cost you $200 per hour. If you need 2 of those a day for 30 days, you're looking at 12,000. Our veterans are never going to be able to pay for that. Or the people who need it aren't going to be able to pay for that. And so, what that means, since this is directly tied to the mass shooting problem here in America, it's just a humanity problem. It needs to be done for free because if we don't solve it, it's going to fester. Because right now, you can't go to the movie theaters, you can't go to church, you can't go to a concert, you can't go anywhere without the possibility of being in a mass shooting at this point. You just never know.
Well, we don't. We can't. I wouldn't say that it's the cause of mass shootings, but I would say for those who struggle, there. I would say until we can literally look at the backgrounds of a lot of these folks, I say it's an issue. It is absolutely an issue, and not only with mass shootings, but incarceration,
Yes,
sick abuse,
yes,
violence,
yeah,
employment. This impacts not just from the bobsledding community, but across these sports and the millions of people that play this. And this is
yes,
not even, to your point, we're not even looking for this right now. You just stumbled into it, through the grace of God, and you've got
yeah.
the intestinal fortitude to try and take care of your pack of bobsledders and expand awareness. So talk about the lawsuit right now. Where's the lawsuit at? And it's a class action lawsuit. Is it on behalf
Yeah.
of the bobsledding community, or is it on behalf of athletes, parents, or
Well, I
what's
filed
your
it.
what's your position?
I filed a class action on behalf of all bobsled and skeleton because we're one federation.
Okay.
Like I said, I gave him an opportunity to do the right thing, which was I said the only thing is non-negotiable is you have to warn the new generation before they get in that sled. They start playing around with how they're going to warn them and just put concussion around. No, can't just say concussion because guess what? I knew I had a concussion, but I didn't know in a few years I was going to not recognize the people that who I love and who love me. Like I didn't know every day I woke up, I'm gonna have to figure out what the day is. I don't know any of the days. And then once I figure out what day it is, every day I have to figure out what month we're in because I think it's either January or August. We begin to yeah, we live in a loop. It's a loop. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. What percentage of bobsledders do you think are impacted by this? If they
If you
played like over 4 years, you talking like almost all of them are going to be suffering?
from the doctors that I spoke to, you couldn't do this sport for more than this is the only sport you can probably get it in 1 year. Because of
Really?
the triple imp yeah, with the vibrations, with the concussions from the hits, and then from the
And the
G-forces.
G-force.
Yeah, and think about 84.5 G-force is enough to kill somebody if you sustain it long enough. But we're getting micro spikes of it, so you're not getting blasted for a long period of time, but it's enough to do the damage. I haven't spoke to any athlete who doesn't have the cognitive issues. Like,
from
it's
the
just
from the community.
yeah,
And
but also when
skeleton,
I
that's when they're on their
on the
skeletons when they're
board,
on those little like sleds, right? I mean,
yeah,
those are the
face
ones that are
first.
always hitting their head
Yeah,
face
yeah,
first. Yeah,
yeah,
they're
yeah,
crazy,
there's
dude.
man, we say they're
You're
crazy.
all
They
crazy.
say we're crazy. Yeah, but yeah, but also with the facility that I'm opening up, it's not just for bobsledders. It still started with bobsledders, and really how it really started was when I found help. I was letting the Canadians know because they have a lot of suicides up there too, and a lot of ailments around this stuff. And I'll tell them,
Really?
hey, I said, yeah, find hyperbaric chamber guys. You'll feel better. They said, we can't find them up here. Our regulations are different. I said, well, man, I just bought this lake house to come die in, but I'm not going to die now. So you guys can fly down here whenever you need to, and you can treat at my place. And that's how this thing started, was me just really helping those guys. And then once I found the military, and I was like, and I started seeing the damage, I was like, wait a minute, this just I need a bigger place. And so that's what I'm doing
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
It's a different pathway for most of the military, but to your point, there is a lot of repetitive ed impacts that we take, and it contributes. It does not, I mean, but the bottom line is that no matter how you got the damage to your brain, HBOT is a great way to treat it. I mean, there's no doubt, but it's got to be available. You got to take it, like you say,
Yeah.
you got to take a whole bunch of dives in order for it to be as effective as we want.
Well,
So,
let me, I'm pretty sure this is an adult population that's listening, right?
but yeah, it's
All right.
primarily adult.
When I came out of that chamber for the first time for 1 hour, my glasses are tinted. So I grabbed these glasses to put them on, and I'm thinking, like, I don't need them. So I'm taking them off and putting them on. So that salesman sees me. He's like, hey, what's wrong? I said, I don't know. I don't think I need my glasses right now. He's like, oh, you're one of those. And I'm thinking, okay, he's gonna try to sell me this machine. This $25,000. I don't have, so I'm right here like this. I'm guarded. But he tells me some people get immediate relief and some people need 30 days. So they call me the Peter Parker guy. Like, you might hear that word floating around, the Peter Parker guy. That
Like
was me because of
Spider-Man?
my yeah, because I didn't need my glasses. And so
Okay.
they still talk about me down there. And so I get home. And one thing about the stuff I get migraines. They never know when they're coming, vertigo. And so I hadn't had a migraine in a while. So I'm sitting on the couch and I'm watching TV. I fall asleep. And I wake up at midnight with this horrible migraine. It's radiating. And I'm thinking, oh my God, did this chamber hurt me? Like, did I do damage? And so, but one thing is, I had this migraine, but I had an erection with it. Two things that don't go together. They
Right?
don't belong. They don't even belong in the same sentence.
Point, yeah.
Yeah. And so something was happening, but I didn't know what.
Something's fixed.
So I go into bed. I get into bed. I go to sleep. I wake up in the morning about 8, 9 o'clock. Migraine is gone. Erection is still there. And I'm just thinking,
Hallelujah.
yeah, but I didn't even have erectile dysfunctions or anything. So I don't know what's going on because this is not normal. But over the next few hours, I was clear. That cloudiness was gone. I had 6 days of clear. So into that next week, they told me to come back. I went back. Then I had 9 days. And then after that, I started treating. So for some people, it's immediate relief. And this is not something like, well, yeah, you're going to have to invest, 20 years into doing this. No, you're going to know quick and you're going to know quick. If this is going to be an answer for you, you're going to know. And think about it. Any injury you ever receive, you're going to get inflammation in it. And so their job is to get that inflammation out to any disease that kills us, inflammation. So when we hit our heads and we get the inflammation up there, why would they leave it? Why did they not
It's
find a way to get it out of there? You know,
well, we now know
that's
it's
the
the
problem.
neuroinflammation that does all the damage, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, all right,
Yeah.
so let's go back a little bit before this too, man. So you said you were an actor and you were on Jerry Maguire?
Well, I wouldn't really say actor, right place. I did a lot of modeling over my time, little
Okay.
jobs here and there. But I was training football guys. I was a 4.23 40 guy, so I had a lot of NFL players that came to train with me
Okay.
down training down at Arizona State. And one of the guys, he did a movie called The Program before Jerry Maguire. He said, hey, they're going to be shooting this movie out. You should come try out. So I go out to this place is at Tempe. Is at Arizona State in Tempe,
Yeah.
and there's 500 people out there. And as soon as I walk in, this director guy walks up to me and says, "Hey, stick close to me." I was like, "That was weird. There's 500 people. Why am I only one sticking close to this guy?" And so they put us all in lines of what position they want you to play or where you think you should play. And so I went with the defensive backs, and it was like, I don't know, out of that 500 people, was like 200 was DBs. So it puts in a long line, and it was like, "You're too fat. You look like you're too slow. You get out here. You're wasting my time." It was humiliating. This other
Wow.
guy, Alan Graff, came out with a megaphone. He was like, "If you want to look like a pro football player, you're only 120 pounds. You're wasting my time. Get out here right now. If you never played pro ball before, you're wasting my time. Get out." I wanted to leave too, but the other director told me to stay next to him. So it's just humiliating. This one guy, they narrowed us down to like 50 defensive backs, right? So I'm standing there. They went through this one guy. He was like a little bowling ball kind of guy. He said, "If you can't run 4 or 5, you wasting my time." The guy said, "I can do it. I can do it." So he walks up to the starting line. He takes off running. He takes about 3 or 4 steps. The guy stops timing him. He said, "When he gets done, tell him to get his butt up out of here." It was humiliating, man. It was like, and so
Wow.
I happen to run the fastest 40 time. But then we go to this next thing. They put these tackling dummies on the ground. It's like 4 of them. So you have to run forward, then backpedal, then run forward, and backpedal. So this one guy went through. He didn't touch anything. He told him to get out. When it was my turn, I stepped on everything that was steppable. I stepped on everything. I was like, how those horses when they just born and their legs are doing. I'm a track guy. I'm not a football guy. So I'm stepping on everything. And when I got through, the guy said, because I ran the fastest 40 now, right? He said, "You're exempt. You don't have to do anything else. You just go
Go
stand
with
over there." Those guys were looking at me like I can kill that guy. So I always tell people
it.
the producing guys were on my side that day because I should have been thrown out for, stepping on it. Just, it is what it is. But
Yeah.
it was just,
Good on
it
you,
was
man.
experience. Yeah. But so not really an actor, but I just made it, when they needed somebody to make things look like it was a real guy running fast. That was me doing it for Jerry
That was
Maguire.
you.
So, yeah. So when they
Well,
brought me to
Bill,
do Any Given Sunday, it was a little different. They wanted me to take some hits. I'm like, no.
there was big boys on that one too.
Yeah. Same
I
people,
don't blame you.
over and over. Same people over and over. They
I don't
just,
blame you. So, Mr. Person, tell us as we get ready to close out. Let's talk about you. I want our people to know how they find you. Right? I mean, whether they're interested in, your nonprofit, the recovery center, or maybe talking to you about, whatever legal actions you got going on. So, talk to our audience. Talk about you, sir, for a bit. What's next in your life? What do you got going on? So our audience knows where and when to find you.
my biggest goal is knowledge. Joe Namath, how he saved me, he's gave me knowledge. And once I tried it, it saved my life. He's the father of this movement
Yeah, how
because,
did he save you? You brought up his name earlier. We didn't get to the story. My bad. I'm sorry.
well, what happened is, once I knew my teammate had CTE, now my algorithm on my phone changed. Now I'm not looking for looking for diabetic cures. I'm looking for CTE cures. So here he has some videos popped up about him. He said he used hyperbaric oxygen to reverse his CTE symptoms.
Wow. Okay. So
However,
that's
yeah, but he never said what the symptoms were or how it helped. He just made this blanket statement, and I had nothing to lose. Matter of fact, I made a video the first time I went, and I saw it about 6 months ago. It was so dark and morbid. I was like, "This is it. There's nothing else for me." I was about out of it, and so yeah, so that's how I found out about it, and I tried it. And you already told that story, but it brought me back, and like now I'm probably 600 dives in on mine, but 600 hours in. It's definitely
game
it's
changer.
not a cure-all. It's not like you're gonna feel like you're 18 again or something like that. But it took see what happens when you get into that mode. Like I said, I was in a loop. Every day I woke up, I didn't know what the day was. So I had a system. I wake up,
Reset.
look at my book. Okay, today is Monday. Okay. What month is it? Because I
Uh,
know it ain't really January. I know it ain't really August. I done got in trouble too many times already. So every day I had a routine. And that's what this is. And so what I do on social media right now, I teach people how to live with this thing. I don't
yeah.
charge for this. And I'm really, really trying to help because you hear it all the time. Every time an NFL player takes his life or veteran, you hear the family say the same thing. They were a gentle giant until all of a sudden they weren't acting like themselves. And that's the real answer right here. That when you hear that word, they aren't acting like themselves, or you know that person isn't acting like themselves. The doctors, and you take them to the doctors are going to ask the wrong thing. They're asking, what's wrong right now? They thinking this thing just showed up, and
And
they're
they ain't
wrong.
looking back
It
there.
showed
Right.
up 15, it was 10 to 15, almost 20 years ago. That's where they have to start looking at. But right now, all I'm doing is I'm officially a 501c3. I've acquired all the real estate I need to open this facility. Like I said, there's four houses and then a clinic. And right now I'm just raising money, finding partnerships, people who want to donate into so we can help me. I need to build the clinic out and I need to buy all the equipment. The equipment is the expensive part. But the good thing is once I have it, like for example, I had this thing since 2022. I have over 660 hours on it. So once I have it, I can just treat the veterans for free. My goal is to do this for free. It's a humanity
Wow.
issue, and we have to
Yeah.
do it for free. And the other thing is, like, we get so mad when people do these violent acts, but it's not them doing this violent act. I'm telling you, these
You know
guys have
what?
no
Thank you for
insight.
saying that. Thank you for saying that because, and whether, whether what that's a very important concept for people to understand is that, it's not these people, just like when addicts do dumb stuff, it's not the person, it's the addict that's doing it. And these people, and I'm not asking for anything else than a different
Yeah,
perspective on this, but there's a lot of horrible things happen,
yeah.
and the people that are doing them, are doing it out of, they're mentally ill. Where did that mental illness come from, man? And is it something
Well,
we can change now to get
that's
ahead of
wrong.
this?
But that's where I think, no disrespect, but I believe you're wrong. It is not mentally ill. It's a physical injury.
No,
It's
but the mental illness
manifesting.
results from the physical injury. I mean,
It's
that's
it's
where,
it's not
and so,
it's still not a it's not mental, it's physical. Because you get in that chamber, I'm a walking testament to this. It goes away.
eh,
It will
no,
reset. It's a physical injury. That's why
it's
you
but
can't treat it with mental health pills. It'll kill you. It
Oh,
will
no,
literally
you
kill
can't
you.
treat a mental
Yeah.
ill, but the physical illness, and this is proven in research, does result.
Yeah.
Schizophrenia, major mood disorders have all been tied to heavily damaged brains. But until we
Yes.
fix the brain, the mental illness doesn't get any better. But it
Yeah.
is the mental illness, the impulsivity, the anger, the rage that comes from a damaged brain that is
Yeah.
causing these horrible actions. We fix the
Yeah.
brain, to your point, then we fix
Yeah.
the problem. And that's where
Fixed
we got to
problem.
get. So,
Yes.
no, this is absolutely, I mean, this is amazing. Mr. Person, I cannot. Do you go by Bill or William or what do folks call you?
Either
I'm a
one.
little bit late today.
In the
Either one?
Midwest, they call me Bill, and out in the West, they call me Will.
All
So
right,
I
Will.
don't
I
either
like
one.
Will,
Yeah.
man. We're gonna go with Will, man. Will, I cannot thank you enough for coming on the show and sharing your experience and knowledge with us. This has been an amazing journey. I had no idea that bobsledders have now be added to the list of contact sports or occupations that have an enormous amount of trauma to them,
Yeah.
and to include G forces. You have G force in Olympics. I mean, gymnastics. We're talking about the G's that are given when
Yeah.
these girls and boys spin around. But I
Yeah.
cannot thank you enough for what you've done. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing your journey and your story. And we look forward to having you back. And good luck
Yeah.
on your nonprofit and what you're trying to do. We'd
Thank
like
you.
to get the word out for you and help you all we can to build awareness of your fundraising and helping those athletes and veterans that you're trying to do so.
Appreciate it. By the way, do you know about treatnow?
Treat now?
Yeah.
No, no, sir.
Oh, you got to write that down. Okay,
I am
that's a
writing it.
veteran. It's a veteran agency who are actually out there. They actually, when I made some posts, I made a post about Kanye. He came back and confirmed it. I made the same one about the veterans, just trying to get the word out. And when they found me through my publicist, I thought they were going to kill me. I said they're going to kill me.
Nah,
So we had a
you're
phone
just
call.
trying to do the right thing, man.
You know what
Just
they
trying
told
to
me?
do the right thing.
They confirmed me. They said, "Will, you're right, 100%. Can you help us?" So treatnow.org, what they do, they're getting the legislation passed from one state at a time, so the veterans can go to that state and get treatment for HBOT. And so, same thing that I'm doing. I'm going just a different route. I'm not looking for government money, but it'll be a little bit different. Maybe the government will start paying. I don't know. But my thing is to get these veterans feeling better quick, and it's not my emphasis is on veterans because they have the biggest issue right now.
Well, Will, you're doing an amazing job. May the
Thank you.
Lord bless your journey, and we're behind you 100%. Thank you for coming
Thank
on
you,
the
man.
show, sir.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Folks, another amazing episode. Who would have thought bobsled, man? My mind's blown here for a little bit. But hey, look, if you like the podcast, please share it, like it, spread it around there. Remember that we have the only book that's ever been written for parents. I'm going to add bobsledding to this thing in the revised version right now. Another occupation to watch out for. But please get the book. It's for free. It's on the website. Download it. Don't forget our summit on repetitive brain trauma. Maybe we'll have Mr. Person come out and speak in September 16th to 17th right here in Tampa, Florida. Our app is on the Google Store. And remember, your kids and you only have one brain. It's all the Lord gave you. Please take care of that melon. And we'll see you next time on Broken Brains. May the Lord bless you all. Take care. The official podcast of the Mac Parkman Foundation. Got to throw that in before we go. Thank you all. We'll talk to you later. Take care.